and welcome back to part 2 of our first impressions look at the FlyJSim 727 for X-Plane version 10. There's a lot of numbers and acronyms in there. We are approaching Amsterdam right now. I currently have my DME2 set to track Schiphol, Amsterdam, Schiphol, Amsterdam. It's 108 miles away, and we are heading towards the Reckon VOR, RKN, Romeo Kilo November. We need to be following, we're going to be landing at runway 18 right. And we need to be following the Reckon 2 Alpha star. So I need to be at flight level 180 when I overfly Reckon, and then descending after that down to flight level 100 as we start our final approach in. It's going to be interesting. It's not actually that hard to do, it's just a lot to manage. We have a working weather radar down here, and I did have some weather up here a little while ago. It seems to have cleared up a little bit, which is awesome. Let me see if I can just tweak this a little bit. I think we're good. The weather seems to have gone away. We've passed it. So we just need to manage our descent. So about 20 miles out, we'll start our descent down to flight level 180 and get ready for our approach. It's going to be a fairly simple approach. At Reckon, we're going to be heading on 308 as the course is currently set up right now. Going to be heading on 308 all the way up to intercept the 094 radial from, I can't even pronounce that, Sierra Papa Yankee. We're going to follow that radial in, then we're going to fly a DME 15 arc around Schiphol until we intercept the ILS to land on runway 18 right. Simple as that. Not very tricky at all. Right, so there's our 20 miles. So let's start our descent. The way we're going to do that is we're going to drop down here to 180. We're going to set our speed bug to 280. In fact, maybe a little bit less. And then just go down to the autopilot and, as before, say IAS hold. And out select, and then we'll reduce the power levers to idle. So the aircraft is leveled off at this point to bleed some speed. Notice that VOR Localizer is armed but not engaged. We're in heading hold right now, just waiting to pick up this radial. I'm a little bit off course. We'll just get to a closer in view and we'll see the speed coming down. 14 miles to go. We may be a little bit high at Reckon. May need to deploy some speed brakes to help out with our descent. Just check I've got the radios tuned in. 116.8 is Reckon. Yes, it is set up. I actually turned the lights in the cockpit on because of the glare from the sun was getting a little bit making things a little bit hard to see. Okay, here we go. We're just starting our descent now. Just over 12 miles to go. So we've got a nice 2,500 feet per minute rate of descent there. I think we might want to go a little bit more, so I'm just going to drop some speed brakes out at this point. Now I can hear in my headphones a very subtle rumble from the speed brakes. You probably can't hear it on the video. Weather's still looking good. I have some numbers being output here, by the way. In X-Plane you can output various informations from the sim, so I'm currently tracking the surface level pressure, which I'm going to use to get the barometric pressure as we approach Amsterdam, because I'm not flying with FlyJSim and I'm not using ATC. Rate of descent increasing there to about 3,500. Aircraft's managing to hold its speed very well. Not a difficult aircraft to manage in the descent at all. You just need to keep an eye on the rate of descent and the speed. Make sure the rate of descent doesn't go crazy. Make sure you don't overspeed and you're fine. We've got 5 miles to go. We're dropping at just under 4,000 feet per minute. About 3,500 feet per minute now. We should be just fine. Now, given our altitude, we're going to overfly the VOR as far as this ADI is concerned a little bit before we actually physically reach it. Here we go, coming up on 18,000 now. Perfect. You can see the distance is slowed down. And you'll see the needle flip in a second to show that we're traveling away. like so. Right, let's bring the power back in. So we passed that. We're going to start our descent now to flight level 100. Let a little bit too much power there, but that's fine. So let's drop this down once again. 100, come down here, make sure we're in alt select, which we are. Pitch hold, and we want to be in speed hold, and away we go. So off the power once again. We can do a fairly well ordered descent now. Leave a little bit of power in there. We have quite a way to go. What we're looking to do right now is follow this course until we intercept the 94 radial or reciprocal 274 into Sierra Papa Yankee. So let's go ahead and tune all that up. Sierra Papa Yankee is 113.3. A little bit too far there. So back up here, let's put this into heading hold. Now I know I could use the second radio to do that. I've actually got the second radio tracking Amsterdam airport itself, so I'm not going to do that. So heading select, 113.3. We're looking for the 274 reciprocal. There. And we're going to pick that radial up at about 43 miles out. And we should be pretty close to hitting our flight level 100 at that point. Actually, my autopilot is reset. Alt select. And IAS hold. Let's come off the power. We can use the V cards at this point. We're going to click on landing here. It's saying VREF of 137, so V approach you can say is 142, 145, around there. Very, very handy having those in here. Alright, so what we can do at this point, we're 56 miles away. At 43, we want to be tying onto that radio. We can actually engage the Ils Localizer now. Because we're in heading hold, heading hold will remain the prevalent choice until the localizer starts working. Localizer. Radial, VOR, call it whatever you want. It is localizer, isn't it? I'm sorry. So you can see, we're in alt select. Heading hold, heading select is engaged. VOR localizer is armed but not currently engaged, so we'll just leave it here and it will turn on course when we want it to. We're going to bring the power up. We are going to be low a little bit too soon, so we're just going to slow our rate of descent by feeding some power in. Descend a lot slower now. And as we get to about 11,000 feet, we will reduce our speed for IAS hold down to 250. So 50 miles, we're going to be turning in 7 miles. We'll see if the instruments corroborate what I'm seeing on the star that I have from Navigraph here. .48 miles, 5 miles to go. Should be seeing the needle move now. There it is, very, very gently moving. I was actually flying in here before it was recording for this segment and looking at these shadows and the difference of color between light and dark and thinking how amazing this is, how far we've come in simulation. Amsterdam scenery outside the window now. This is default scenery, by the way. This is the default X-Plane 10 mesh, default Amsterdam scenery. I haven't downloaded the high definition meshes yet from AL Pilot X. I am using Aerosoft's Amsterdam airport scenery. There we go. Heading hold, heading select has gone off now. We're on VOR localizer, that's turned green. Look at this, 44 and a bit miles, and it's going to start turning bang on 43 miles. We're exactly where we want to be. Let's come off the power now and get a normal rate of descent down to 10,000. So that we pass our intersection, not really an intersection, so that we reach 26 miles away from SPY at 10,000. We're actually still going to hit it too early. That's fine, it doesn't matter too much. We're not using ATC at this point. We're 41 miles away right now. What we can do to help here is we will reduce the speed at this point. You see the aircraft leveled off there to bleed the speed. 39 miles, 26 miles we're going to engage heading hold. So that we can set up our radios for the ILS approach. Aircraft's correcting its course at this point. Do have a bit of wind here. 18 knot wind from 295, so bang on the nose right now. It's going to be a crosswind at landing. And transition altitude here in Amsterdam is 4,000 feet. Coming up on 10,000 now, so feeding back in the power. We're going to hold 10,000 until we reach 26 miles, then we'll start our descent down to 3,000. Now looking at the charts down here, flaps 2 at 190, flaps 5 at 160, flaps 15 at 150. Our V approach is 142, so we're going to go pretty much from 15 through 25, then 30, our landing flaps, quite rapidly as we bring the speed down on finals there. Just feeding a bit more power in, easing our rate of descent, 33 miles out. See what I mean? What I was saying in the first video about this being very hands-on, even with the autoflight system. Now you do need to be careful with the speed in this aircraft. Once you get beneath 200 knots, you are at risk of entering deep stalls. So you need to be all over monitoring the speed, keeping the flap schedule. The aircraft does simulate deep stalls very, very scarily well. I don't really want to do a deep stall in this aircraft on a video. 30 miles. Let's move our heading bug around here, line it up. $28 miles, 10,300. We are going to hit our constraint, so we might as well go ahead and dial down now. Approach altitude of 3,000. Amsterdam is very flat. Pull the power back again at this point. Let's go down here to the auto flight system. Heading select is engaged now. Make sure that IAS is still engaged. Alt select is still engaged. We are good. So now we're descending. Let's go ahead and set up the radio. So I'm going to switch on another screen to look at ILS runway 18 right. Okay, so I've got that on the other screen now. The ILS is 110.1. That's Victor Papa Bravo. 110.1. We'll switch the radio over. The approach course is 183. We are 31 miles away from the airport at this point. Quite a clear day from the looks of things, although there is a weather pattern off to the right, you can see down here. Not seeing it out the window yet. And at 20 miles out we'll start messing with the speed. Actually now we're under 10,000, landing lights on. Don't think we're going to need to do too much with the speed brake. The aircraft is handling very, very well, so we will just arm the speed brake already, so it's one less thing to worry about. There it is. Speed brake armed. Just like in a 737. Weather system was updated now that we're a lot closer. So let's just check everything. Landing lights are on. Speed brake is armed. Alt select is going down to 3000. We are in heading hold. We are tracking Amsterdam here. We want to be flying a 15-mile DME arc as much as possible. Might not actually be necessary, to be honest. We currently have the ILS tuned in. It's not active at this point. We're too far away. Bit of moisture outside. Temperature's not too bad. I'm not going to worry about anti-ice at this point. Let's start bringing our speed down now. Let's drop it down to 200. Beautiful clouds from SkyMax outside the window. While we're lining up on the approach, let's talk about pricing. FlyJSim, you can pick this up from their website. It comes in 3 versions. Each one is, I think, $32. So you can get the 100, the 200 advanced, or the 200 freighter for $32, or you can buy all 3 for $62. Now, I know compared to some FSX add-ons, like this is not a PMDG level aircraft, but it is very, very, very good. $62, I actually think that's a pretty reasonable price, but some people might balk at it, but that's why you can buy each one individually. I actually never fly the 100. It's just not my thing. I fly the 200 and the 200 freighter, so if you want to save some money, just get the model that you're likely to fly the most. Alright, speed is down now. We're 20 miles away from the airport. Localizer is not active, as we would expect. You can see the needle pointing at where the airport is right now. So just over there. Oh, now we have a distance come up on the localizer. Good. So let's get that speed down a little bit more now, and we'll start deploying flaps, initial flaps anyway. So down to 190, which is going to put us at flaps 2. So nose is coming up. Speed is dropping. Flaps 2. Next stage of flaps is at 160. That will be flaps 5, so we're not going to worry about that right now. We can bring the speed down a little bit more. We're not going to. What I am going to do is deploy the speed brake at this point. I didn't think I was going to use it, but I am. Just to increase our rate of descent down now. Watching the distance here. 17 miles. According to the star, there is a DME arc of 15 miles. We're probably going to skip inside that because it's pretty much as soon as you skip inside it, you're on approach. Not a big deal. 3,000. We are within the 15 miles. I'm going to let it ride. We are going to be turning any second. So we'll assume that air traffic control cleared us in. Okay, so let's drop our speed down now to about 180. So back on the power, keeping our speed up for now. Localizer just came active. So let's bring the speed down now to 160. Getting ready to engage localizer, VOR localizer hold. Feeding in some more power, speed is dropping. Now, you use IAS hold for descends, And for climbing, you can't use it in level flight. You have to be managing the power yourself for that. Right, but we are under 160 now, so next stage of flaps, flaps 5. Paying very close attention to that localizer now. And our speed. Watching for that bar to start moving. I always end up fixating on that localizer bar and think it's moving when it's not. Right, off the power. Speed is coming up nicely. You don't want to overspeed for this level of flap. Now that's going to go fairly quick, so I'm going to engage VOR localizer now. So you can see, VOR localizer is armed. We are currently green on altitude, out select and heading. And we're going to go flaps 15 once we intercept the glide slope. So at that point, we flaps 15, gear down. And obviously our speed, we'll be wanting to get that down to 150 and then 142. It's going to be a 10-mile approach. You can see from nav 2 here, runway is almost exactly where we want it to be now. The airport is exactly where we want it to be, directly to the left. Still have an 8-knot wind, 7.5-knot wind from 273, so we're going to have a slight crosswind when we land. That does affect this aircraft. Here we go, there comes the localizer. Aircraft's turning now. Now we watch for the glide slope. Let's bring our speed down. Ready to go flaps 15 and gear down. And just let the aircraft do its job of lining itself up on that localizer into runway 18 right. A bit more power. Dropped a little bit too much speed. Watching for the glide slope to start moving. At which point we'll switch the auto flight system from localizer to glide slope. Glide slope is active, so click, click. And we're under 150 now, so flaps 15, gear down. And we will hold now at the approach speed. By delicate adjustments to the power levers. Not looking out the window at all. Don't really need to at this point. Let the aircraft manage itself. And we'll just cross-check in 1 second when it looks like we are lined up. Oh, speed is getting away, so off the power. A little bit high. So we'll reduce power once again. Look out the window. There's the runway. Aircraft's getting nicely established now. A bit more power. We will go next stage of flaps now. And then once those are set, we'll go final stage of flaps, ready for the landing. 7 miles to go, 2,300 feet. You can see the crosswind is affecting us already. Look at the angle of the needle. Speed got very, very low there. You've got to keep an eye on that. I didn't. So bring the power back up, bring the speed back up. Luckily I caught it. Right, final landing flaps. Flaps 30. 2,000 feet. Runway dead ahead, we are established. Now runway 18 right is quite a way out from the main airport, so you might not get a good view of the beautiful Aerosoft Amsterdam scenery on this approach, but we'll try our best. At the very least I'll fire up the replay. Gently adjusting the power now, we're a little bit over 142. Try not to chase the needles too much, either in terms of power or speed, rate of descent and all that stuff, as normal. There's a lot more manual, even with the autoflight systems on, than a typical, say, NGX or 777. As you would expect, this is from the golden age, the dawn of jetliner passenger transport. Let's just double check everything. Gear is down. Landing lights are on. Flaps are set. Flaps 30. That's actually flaps 25. Let's go flaps 30. Good job we checked. Barometric pressure is set 3044. Landing runway 18 right. 1,500 feet. Bit more power. Bit more power. Keep that speed up. Don't know if we set max level. No, we didn't. Let's go medium level auto brakes. Had I been doing my job and running my checklist, that wouldn't have happened. Speed getting a little low there. And X-Plane's weather system doing me no favors as it loads in new weather, causing a dip in my frame rates. Flame rates? 1,000 to go. Alright, autopilot off. I have control. The aircraft is trimmed. We just need to pay attention to the crosswind and our speed. Feeling the speed now, let's trim it a little bit. It's a very, very fluid aircraft to fly, especially on an approach. A little bit off the center line there, let's bring it back. Oh.
500.
Yes, yes. A little low. Wrestling the controls now. That wind has picked up a little bit. I'm not sure what it's gusting to, but I'm feeling it. Oh goodness gracious. A little porpoising there. Passenger's not very happy in the back. I'll teach him to fly Froogle Air.
Flight slow.
Flight slow warnings coming up now.
Flight slow. Flight slow. 50.
There is an auto flare system, which we're not going to use. Kind of a porpoisey, bumpy approach there, partly because of the gusting. Speed brake up, reverses up. nuts. Braking quite hard at this point, which is why you're seeing some shaking. The reason I'm doing that, I want you to see in the replay, you'll see smoke coming off the wheels and the brakes. Okay, let's clean up this aircraft. Welcome to Amsterdam. Let me fire up the replay here and you can see that porpoisey landing. I'll give you my summary. I love the replay system in this. You just grab that bar and just slide it.
Flight slow.
Let's take a look at that. You can see me getting blown a little bit there already. Heavy, heavy, heavy overcast with X-Plane's three-dimensional clouds killing my frame rate. It never looks as bad from the outside as it does in the cockpit. We see a lot more movement in the cockpit, I think, than you do on an outside view of the aircraft. But you can see it's kind of porpoising a little bit there, just trying to get established. Nothing too severe. That's a good view. That's how sideways it was at the end. Nice crosswind landing. Speed brakes up, reverses up. You should hear the reverses kicking in now. Deep rumble. So, my conclusions. This is a beautiful aircraft. A lot of people get concerned about X-Plane and say that you don't have the fidelity of aircraft of, say, a PMDG or a Majestic in X-Plane. You really do. And there are some incredible gems out there. I mean, this is one guy did this entire thing, and it's phenomenal. Sure, we don't have unique clicking sounds on each of the switches. That's a little bit of a letdown, I guess, if you're coming from Majestic or PMDG and FSX. But even so, it doesn't really detract from the whole experience because everything is made up for by a sublime flight model. Flying this is a dream. You just saw me do a crosswind landing with my frame rates going through the floor because of the weather and everything else that's going on. In FSX, that would have been impossible and prepared. Not sure, I haven't tried it, but in FSX at least, not very pleasant experience, and in X-Plane, a fun experience. Never had a bad flight in this, always enjoy every aspect of it. Level of modeling on this is outstanding. 3D dials, as in the needles are floating above the surface of the dial, that makes them a 3D dial. Working systems, some complex systems in here, complex to the point that, as I said, I wanted to record a fully loaded video for this, but I'm simply not competent enough. I haven't had enough chance to get comfortable with that full cold and dark setup. Overall though, I think well worth the money. FlyJSim.com. This is their 727 series. This is the 727-200 Advanced. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you for watching.